Hello, everybody. Hey, 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 hey. All right. So I have a couple different things I need to say. Um, I am going to do a reading later on today, but this is going to be a Meek message only because I had some lessons, took some notes. That's really what your downloads are, by the way, is that you are having an integrated experience between spirit and physical. And then you have these lessons that come in, kind of help you for what's about to come up next, kind of close out some lessons from your previous cycles for you to connect some dots so you could, be a well-rounded individual. And then you come on here and then somebody clicks on your your YouTube just to get some of those cheat codes because they're possibly going through something within resonance in their own life, or about to go into something like this, or they're connecting dots because they had a similar experiences. This is what all of this is as far as socialization goes. Okay. So yeah, I'm starting off with that. Okay, so this morning in my meditation, and my meditation I really mean is spirit wakes me up at ungodly, it's not ungodly, everything is godly, hour. It's just really early. But I don't feel tired. It just be like, time to get up, get your pen. I'm like, okay. We wake up for class. Anyway, so spirit woke me up and I wrote down some stuff here and I like to share with you guys. As well as I want to touch upon the conversation between living in the heart space, the divine union between masculine and feminine. Okay. I know this is a topic of conversation that I often bring up time and time again, mainly because when I start pulling cards, it usually comes up as a major theme in life. Okay. I want to also preface this by saying that as within, so without. Okay. What you got going on in your internal world is what you're going to project and see in your actual reality. Okay. This is why meditation and I want to say controlling your thoughts, but being mindful of the thoughts that you're attaching emotional energy to is very, very important because these are the things that shape your reality. Okay, your perception is valuable, but it's not the only one. And also, your perception shapes your reality. Okay, it's only when people try to project their perception onto you that we get into these really weird situations of contrast. Okay, when really and truly, you're supposed to take what's yours, go and learn your lessons smartly, and let them take what's theirs and let them learn their lessons smartly. This is the part of detachment that's necessary. Okay, in this way, you can also take accountability for your own SHIT. Okay, and you don't have to mix your SHIT with anybody else's SHIT, and then you guys are just in a SHITTY situation. Okay, just go with it. All right. Okay, let me take a pause and say a prayer. All right. May this message come from a frequency of love. I don't want it to be too much in the logical mind space. I want to make sure that everything that I'm saying is coming from a heartfelt place of truth, love, and understanding. So if anything that I'm saying is triggering to you, that it is triggering you onto the cushion of love, of a safe space for you to fall back on. Okay, not to re-traumatize this video. The intention for this video is to bring clarification and to round out understanding in order for you to clear whatever blockages is keeping you in a trapped loop of karmic cycles or reality. Okay, we are ascending to higher heights. Remember, I don't ever have to put you down in order to raise us up. Do you understand? Alrighty, let's get it. All right, so I'm trying to think if I want to do the God consciousness stuff first. Okay, so I wrote down God as a consciousness / spirit that can inhabit your vessel if you so choose. Okay, when you think about the entity of God, I know in the past video I said this thing. I am no one's God. Okay, I am not your Godhead. I am just a if you see me in your life and you can physically see me, hello, hi. I am just a fragment of the consciousness of God in your world. You understand? When take off this camera, when I'm not speaking, I'm not involved with anyone else, I are one with God consciousness. Okay. So yes, just be mindful of that, not to give that power away to anyone. Okay, don't allow anybody else to project their perspective onto you. And this could be good or bad. Okay, because remember, you have to take the good and the bad, right? Because some people might think you're great. Some people might think you're this. Some people got this perspective of you, because we're all just fragments of God experiencing what it's like to be one with God, and also what it's like to experience oneself through others. Okay, so be mindful of that. Okay, become the son or daughter of God to embody the spirit / consciousness fully. Okay, so this is kind of going back to the idea of Christ consciousness, right? And I know a lot of people give a lot of things in Jesus' name and this and that, but you are a daughter and son of God, right? Christ is a consciousness. Okay, it's a consciousness that you can adopt as you are ascending. Okay, and you know, it's like before Christ consciousness, and then there's after death. And in my interpretation of that is the after the death of your egoic self, and understanding that you are one with everything around you. Okay, you are one with God. Okay, you're not above, not below. You're one with God. So once you are one with me, accept this consciousness to be true. There's a lot of things that will be sacrificed and died off. I'm going to get into more detail with that in a few minutes. Okay. All right. So source consciousness contains all possible perspectives. In there lies the truth. Okay. So, you guys seen that famous painting? Or there's multiple paintings like this where you look at it in one direction, it looks a certain way, like if you look at the number 69, and someone can say that's 69, and someone who's looking on the other side is like, well, that is actually going to see 69 as well if they're looking at it from the opposite side. Okay, not a good example, but my whole point is that when you look at, okay, let's just say the number 6, right? I'm looking at it, it's 6. Someone's looking at it over there, it looks like a 9. Okay, so I'm arguing it's 6. And the other one's like, it's 9. 2 different perspectives. The truth is that if you look at the truth is just remain. It's a number with this symbol on it. Okay. And you can take the higher perspective, depending on whose viewpoint you're looking at, you can see the truth in what they're saying. Okay. So just be mindful of that. And this is why there's many eyes of God. Okay. There's many eyes. So you humbly accept the truth regardless. Okay. Yeah, there was something. Give me a second. Okay. With that being said, your perspective also shows which level of consciousness you're on. Okay. Some people tend to stay on the lower level of consciousness, right? That's the lower hanging fruit of the consciousness of the all encompassing consciousness of God, right? In which you could only see things through the tinted lens of trauma, lust, anger, greed, these lower things. Okay. Everything that you have to get through before you could actually reach your heart space, which is a perfect segue into the heart stuff, but I'm not going to take it. I'm going to keep going where I'm going. I'm going to come back to the heart stuff. Okay. The more you seek the highest perspective, the more you align with the consciousness of God. See, the more you can get to the higher level perspectives, and I guess put a death to the old fragmented pieces that are lower frequencies. Okay, they have a reason why they're there, and I'm gonna get into that as well. It's important for contrast in order for your ascension to see where your soul actually is residing in an upper space and time. Okay, but yes. The more you seek the highest perspective, the more you align with the consciousness of God. Okay, because it's easy to stay in lower level frequencies of fear, lust, greed, anger, jealousy, all of the ones that are low hanging fruit that actually serve your egoic state of mind versus the higher consciousness of God. Okay, sin against anyone is a sin against yourself. Everything with the breath of God uses life force energy. We tend to cling to and attract, bond with things like ourselves. Okay, so If someone wants to experience a reality in which they are a murderer or whatever, that is the consciousness and the frequency that they will be on. And that is the spirits and levels of consciousness in human vessels that will be attracted to that person. Whether it be, this is why, whether it be someone to be a victim, if you're constantly in victimhood mentality, someone who is like to victimize others, whether it be in any state, in any arena of category, they will then be attracted to you because you guys are now a vibrational match to one another. Okay. Now, as you keep ascending in the consciousness, you start understanding the accountability it takes to actually hold God consciousness and be in line with God consciousness, because you cannot split yourself. You can't be dual. Okay. You are one, like holy and solely, which means you are positive and negative polarities, meaning you can understand the vastness of God, the different levels of consciousness that exist. This is why you have God and you have that, again, the opposer Satan, who can never quite be God though, right? Because there's checks and balances. But at the same time, there's a reason why Satan exists, is because it's like the filtering process in order for you to get to the godlike consciousness. Okay. Through Christ consciousness. Okay. And I'm not talking about the actual religion of Christianity, because many people go through different ways of getting to this understanding, understanding, whatever word you want to use to show that you comprehend the things that we're talking about. Okay. It's not about being right. Okay. It's about actually integrating this stuff into your life so you can actually see your reality shift. Okay. Okay. Everyone has the ability to align with God. That is a choice to unite with the Most High Consciousness. But this requires unity, which means sacrificing of the lower level nature thoughts. You will have to rise above trauma, hurt, addiction, matters of the flesh, okay, in order to ascend there. Okay. Are you a consenting creator? Once you start really taking responsibility and accountability, right, you can't stay in states of guilt. You can't stay in states of lack, right? You have to be able to bear your own cross. I think I'm referencing the Christian Bible right now when we're talking about how Jesus went up on the cross and he died, he was crucified. And I want you to get out of the idea of making this into a physical thing. Understand what it means in a metaphysical element, right? In a spiritual element, meaning all the things that you have done before you gain Christ consciousness, before you understand the humility that's required in order to walk in flesh as a child of God, right? You will bear a cross. Okay? And that cross will also be given to you by the people around you who also don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to take responsibility for their lives. Okay? And so they will attempt to crucify you with it. All right? But as part of your journey is for you to actually walk that walk in the face of whomever, because you remember that these are just fragmented consciousness of God. Okay? And nor can they guilt nor shame you. Okay? All right. Thoughts you entertain dictate your perspective. I just wrote that down, but I also want to get back to the unity part of what I just said. United in what? Okay. A lot of people will be like, we are united, but what are you united in? That little change of perspective will help you weed out what is actually in resonance and what is not. Okay. Because you might be in a group of people, right, that you guys are united with a certain chain of thought, not all encompassing, because as long as you can see someone outside of yourself, they can be compromised. They can have other thought forms that they resonate with, that they're bringing, but you guys actually just have one particular thing that you're resonating with. Kind of like if you guys were in the same city, right? Everyone had this one frequency of thought that they all resonated in. They're like, we're going to go to Hawaii in June. Right? That was a resonance that they were strongly into, depending on what their consciousness is and what spirit was guiding them to do, which spirit was guiding them to do. Right? One person goes to Hawaii, has this wholly different experience than someone else. This is why there's multiple realities in the same realm, in the same world. Okay, different perspectives, but you guys are still tied together by the unity of consciousness, period. Okay, which has varying levels. Okay. So resonance. So you guys could be united in this, but not united in that. United because there's so many fragments in consciousness of God. Okay. Shout out to Neuro because he talks about that. He's like, there's many different worlds in one reality, or is it many different realities in one world? I think that's what it is. There's many different realities in one world. Okay. And there's only one God. I keep saying that too. There's only one God, but there's different fragments of God and different levels to this. Okay. There's just different levels. All right. Okay. You cannot crucify consciousness. They whom dedicate their actions to God be untouched by sin. I actually got that from, it is a famous line from a book I should be able to tell you about right now, but I cannot because my brain. Okay. So yes, let me double back to on the idea of sinning against oneself. When you sin against yourself, when you sin against what you do unto others, you do unto yourself, right? Christ consciousness kind of idea again. What you do unto others. These are the reason why this was written in the Bible is because it's legit stuff. Okay, it's legit stuff. It doesn't really, you don't really need the Bible to tell you that, like I said, because these are just also stories of things that came to pass. That's to help you gain understanding for your particular life. All right, which requires for you to also detach from that and listen to what's going on within the programming that's already in your mind within. I need to take a break. I'm getting tired. Okay, thank you. I think every time I say something, I need to take a break just to come back. Okay, you cannot crucify consciousness. They whom dedicate their actions to God be untouched by sin. All right, this is important as to why you must be in alignment with your Godhead. Don't let anyone stand between you and your Godhead. Either they are on your frequency of alignment. This is male or female. I know that we've lived in a world in which a lot of masculine energy wants to become the Godhead of the woman. But unfortunately, you should not be sacrificing your Godhead for no flesh. No flesh. Okay? Man or woman. Okay? Man or woman. Either you guys are both aligned with God or you're not. All right? You are protected. You cannot say you're divinely protected from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet and then still at the same time say you need protection from something outside of yourself. Okay? Either they align with the protection and that comes from God. Okay? So as long as I can see you, I cannot put you above my Godhead. All right? It doesn't matter if it's your job. It doesn't matter if it's your mate. You have to know what's right for your soul and what's right for your own spiritual journey. That's very important. And be mindful of people who are trying to be that. It's feeding a sense of ego more so than not, or insecurity, because a lot of people feel if they do something that they must be rewarded from you. When really, when you're aligned in spirit, it will never leave you in deficit. When you're aligned with spirit, it never leaves you in deficit. When you are now making man-made contracts, meaning for you to come here, you have to do this for me. And a lot of times people don't like to put that stuff in bold print. They put the crazy stuff in fine print because they know they're having this other spiritual entity on their back because they have to pay their piper. Okay, but let's say we move into a contractual agreement as man and man, and you are saying, I say man and man, I'm talking about of flesh, woman and woman, woman and man and whatever the contractual agreement is. You must be fully aware of what it is that you actually are contracting with, whom spiritually, because it's not just what you look like, it has to do with your spiritual alignment. Is this following your principles? Is love in what you're doing? Very, very important. Very, very important stuff. So if I come up to you and I'm saying, hey, you can borrow my tea cup for a week for $50. This is a clear contract. It should have no other strings attached. It should say, yes, for $50, I will borrow your teacup for a week. I'll give you $50. It's like, okay, it should be cut clean like that. Okay? Nothing more, nothing less. Don't try to seed and siphon in more energy than not, or don't want to pay the person when they give you something, because this is just a verbal contract into the ether that's clean and cut. Don't expect more than what we are giving in a verbal contract. Now, spiritual contracts are way more important than anything man made, including your marriages, including anything that you have with a governmental entity, including that. All right? Because when there is a plug and they call your name and they're like, so and so, it's time for you to be spiritually activated. There's nothing that can touch or prevent that from happening, no matter how much fear mongering that there is. That is divine protection. That's why some people could go live in the woods and survive. That's why some people will fly in plane crash, and they will survive, because they have divine protection over their lives and they have something to carry out that aligns in the mission of God. Not for the material wealth of man, because that, again, it's a seed that plants nonsense. So that be careful who you're aligning yourself to. Who are you putting your flesh in alignment with for what you perceive as safety and security, what you perceive as comfort. Because some of those things have higher prices to pay in the spiritual realm. Okay? Let me read it again. You cannot crucify a consciousness. They who dedicate their actions to God be untouched by sin. It's a different kind of frequency. When you move with alignment with the frequency of God, which is the alignment of all, it's bigger than oneself. You understand what's going on, right? And so you move in a divine way. You move with purpose. Even if you particularly in your lower level form may not know the true purpose, because you're not on that station of consciousness in this particular moment. But everything aligns accordingly, and then you will see it. And I'm only saying this because I've been on both aspects. I've been in my higher self version, helping my lower self out. And then when the time and space and time aligned, my past self or lower self at that moment in time, and whatever dial and frequency I was dialing in on, understood what past me, what future me was doing. It's a whole thing. And you guys also will realize this too on your own journey as you're going through, right? Past you be helping out future you be connecting with past you. And then like it really transcends space and time. Okay, through the frequency of love. Okay, and through the frequency of healing. This is why we promote inner child healing. This is why we put the healing between your own divine trinity within yourself, which is the feminine, masculine, and inner child. It's required. So this way you can reflect that on the outside of in your reality. You'll see that. Okay. To be one with God is just something that occurs when you were a child, when you were a baby, before you were born into this realm. You already one with God. Okay, it's just as you go through the world and the life, you start picking up shit on your field, on your aura field. Some of it does not belong to you. Some of it belongs to your bloodline. Some of it you actually play a hand in when you're under the veil. And then when the veil is removed, you see and you're like, repentance, I'm sorry. Right? You feel all these feelings. And then you will have to go through the dark night of the soul like everybody else in order to come out to see what your heart is like on the end of it. Okay? Taking responsibility in your present moment for you exist and creation of your reality. Well, let me read the whole thing. The longer you are in the world, the more attempts there are to make you out of alignment with the frequency of God. This is why we look at our elders and we give respect to them. And I know some of you guys will look at certain elders, which is, it's not for me to say. But you may pick up on certain things that you're like, not this one, right? Because maybe they haven't make atonement with actual God frequency or whatever it is that they've done. right? Because, your residue is your residuing. Okay. But taking responsibility in your present moment for your existence and the creation of your reality, right? From birth, right? You have to really take that responsibility and accountability for you to really, really move into the frequency of God consciousness. Okay. Or else it's just, I guess, vanity, because you're not really integrating the experience into your life. Okay, so I wrote from this morning's meditation, the will of God has nothing to do with majority. It's a frequency. It has nothing to do with majority. That's why it don't matter if there's 4,000 people that's saying nay from their own perspective. As long as you know what the truth is in your heart from your own perspective, that is the thing that aligns you to the frequency of God, because you will be tested. You will be waking up through the middle of the night, and then also, I guess, going through counsel. I don't know whatever better way to say it. I need to take a breath. Okay, now this is why that whole line is you don't have to rely on your own understanding. It's because you're not really relying on your logical mind. You're really relying on the alignment of your life. It's way bigger than just your human brain. Okay, this is why we push for you to clean up your heart, because your heart space is required. That beat is required. Okay. Yeah, that's what it is. It's not supposed to. I know a lot of people get triggered, like, why can't I rely on my own understanding? Because your understanding is going to come, right? But for you to understand the complexities of the all encompassing, it is a lot. Look at me. I'm literally 26 minutes in, and I am just using maybe a little fragment of my energy right now to connect and then also speak. And I do most of my work in silence, mostly in the dark, because it's clear. It's the energy it takes to speak and put it in logical words. Imagine that. And then people who live in their mind all the time, it is exhausting. And you're never going to fully understand it until you really just drop your vessel. Okay? So this is why we say this. All right? You have to really do trust the process, because there's more things in the unseen than there is seen. Shout out to neuroknowledge. Okay, that was one of the avenues in which displayed this information that connected my own consciousness. So thank you for existing. Okay? When you attempt to enslave others, you enslave yourself. This is why we're talking about resonance, right? Even in the dual polarity, whatever you do unto others, you're really just doing unto yourself. So if you connect to the idea that you're oneness with God, when you do something, right, and you're an empathetic person, you feel this. A lot of people don't really, I won't say a lot of people, but I have met people who don't have consciousness. They don't feel, they could do anything and they don't feel any remorse for it, and they exist for a reason. They may not sustain, like I said, because there's a certain level of tap in that's required, not for you to be in a space of guilt, but for you to gain really true understanding of what it is to be connected to Source God. Okay? The yin and yang energy, the completion, the wholeness of God, the all encompassing thing. It's a feeling, it's a vibration that you cannot really put into logical words. Okay?